whether or not African Americans are African. So, if some of y'all may notice on social media, it's kind of becoming like, I guess you could say a trend now. We are seeing a lot of Black Americans, African American people, get on social media and say that African Americans are not African. Like we are fully indigenous peoples. Like we are fully indigenous to the Americas. One thing we gotta understand is that African Americans as an ethnicity, our ancestry traces back in this country at least 400 years. And so, as I stated in one of my previous videos, you cannot expect Africans to be on this territory for 400 years and not have any intermingling with Native Americans at all.
That's a good point. Although he hasn't done his full history, we indigenous people that were here, the Coppertone people. See, he got good points he's making, but you got to help him clean this up. The indigenous people, Coppertone people, had been here over 1,500 years. They was here before the Syrian captivity, right after the Syrian captivity, right? And that's before the Babylonian captivity. So over almost 2,000 years they had been here, right? So just wanted to clear that up. And the other point he made is that, of course, the slaves that were brought here from Africa, actually from Africa, and the Jews that ran here during the beginning of the Renaissance, a lot of people, so-called black people, the Jews, the Moors who came here was ran out of Europe. They came here, and of course, they made marriages with the natives, with the 10 tribes that were already here. So that's another reason the Bible said we shall become one nation in the land of our captivities, not because of the 12 tribe chart and explain to us who the northern kingdom is, but it's also because our children will be mixed. That's when you say mixed. That's when you can say mixed. Is when you start giving your daughters and your sons to other tribes. Then the tribe will be mixed, become one. You can't become one unless you're mixed with another. Two or more have to be mixed before you can become one. So you can still be what your father is, but the tribes can also be mixed. The southern kingdom and the northern kingdom became one. That means they were mixed together. So don't stop saying there's no such thing as mixed too. Let's keep listening.
I guess it's not realistic to think that. With that being said, after 400 years of American or European colonialism in North America, after 400 years of, African people being on this land and 400 years of indigenous Americans having their land taken from them, I can tell you right now that most Black Americans are at least part Native American.
Most black Americans are full-blooded Native Americans, right? Because we are mixed and became one. All our inheritance became not only from the people that was brought over on slave ships, but the people that was already here. We inherited what they have because our offsprings are mixed, right? And so with Israelites, with the Israelite doctrine, the Israelite law, that you can inherit another tribe's inheritance. You can inherit the other tribe's inheritance if you marry into the family, right? Your sons being the first, being the first who gather the inheritance, and the inheritance become shared. So if all the people, the ones that was brought here to America, and the people who were here who inherited everything and left their inheritance to their children, we inherited the land from our ancestors because we became one and we were mixed and became one. So the people who were brought here are no longer You can't say they are. You don't know who they are, for one. You can't go pick them out and say you were brought here, you wasn't. You were brought here, you wasn't. You can't prove that. You wasn't there, white people, like we wasn't there. One thing we know is you wasn't here when we was here. You came here. You got records showing your big entry into America. You brag about how you took this and took that, all your wars. So you already didn't gave up your tea. You already gave the tea up. You came here and you sent and brought more of your kind here. So you are not indigenous. Don't care how you try. Okay? And the other point is that we inherited this land from the people who we mixed with when we got here. Okay?
Most of us African Americans are Afro-Indigenous, and everybody is not lying about their family history. A lot of us come from families where our elders have always claimed to be part Native. And people be like, everybody claim to be Cherokee. There's a lot of people who are of Cherokee descent, but all of us don't claim to be Cherokee. For example, in my family, we do have some Cherokee in my family on my dad's side, but on my mom's side of the family, they are of Choctaw and Tula descent. On my mother's side of the family, my granddaddy's side is Creole, and they have Choctaw and...
See, so what he's showing you is how they mixed up. You still what your father is, but when you have tribes mixing back and forth, male and female, then that's a mixture. He's showing you how the race mixed up. He's talking about it now, what I just was talking about. Let's keep watching.
Ancestry, but they can't tell you the last full-blood Choctaw person in their family. But they also can't tell you the last full-blood white person in their family, and they can't tell you the last full-blood African person in their family either. They just know that they are Choctaw, white, and African.
And another thing, white people can say, "Well, we left our babies in slavery with the with the family, the black family, the indigenous people, so they are indigenous too." No, your bloodline is of your father. All your children that you left with us. Now, the children from the males that you left are Esau's bastard children, or your bastard children. The children from the female that came from your lawns, and they have they marry black men, then their children are indigenous. They are Israelites. It's simple as that. See, now we went back and we divided the people. We showed you how the people who bloodline is of the father, they are still here, mixed in, and there are people who bloodline is of the black indigenous people, the Israelites. Esau's children are still here, and of course, we all became one, mixed together as one nation, Israelites. And I think Esau's bastard children have did the same. They saw it more beneficial, more profitable to them to parade or to exalt and declare that they came from white seed. Okay, their fathers were white. So it's simple. It's simple. It's no big deal. You can get it right. It's right. He's explaining everything better than the Israelite camps ever did. Okay.
On my grandmother's side, my grandmother's great-granddaddy was from the Tula tribe. And they know that because they had a great aunt named Tula May. My great-great-grandmother had a sister named Tula May, and her first name Tula came from the tribe that her daddy came from. So my grandmother and my great aunt, they know that their great-granddaddy was from the Tula tribe. Some of us African Americans know that we have native blood in us, and we claim our native blood just as much as we claim the African blood, no matter what the proportionate ratio is. And then not to mention, a large portion of the indigenous population was wiped out by Europeans. And so that's
the point I want to show you right there. A large portion was wiped out, right? Now, sure, they had wars. They killed a lot of people. A lot of women and kids mainly. They killed a lot of women and kids, and then they captured them and took them captured. They captured a lot of women and kids, and the men dropped their guns and came in peacefully. And then here's the thing: they said they destroyed. No, they didn't destroy those tribes, because the Bible said all the people that was created is still here. Their bloodline is still on the earth. What they did to appear that they killed all the Native Americans, all the Northern Kingdom, and the mixture of Northern and Southern Kingdom, indigenous people, they say they destroyed a lot of them and took the land. No, they didn't destroy them. They took them down in the Caribbeans and South America and all of the West Indies. They took them down there and started their empires, right? They started their empires, and basically what they wasn't raising a lot of trees. They were raising it. They were raising their product. I mean, yeah, their cargo would tea, coffee, tobacco, stuff like that, sugar, stuff they could load up. Right? They wasn't bringing big trees back, because really it wasn't any tree specimens species down there except for pine and eucalyptus. You can't build anything. So why? Another thing. Why? That's another way to prove that the Northern Kingdom didn't venture down on those other islands. They stayed here where they could build. Used to have trees, uncountable trees, resources where they could build, and they knew how to build. So they stayed here in North America. They had to take them down there to and all the Europeans, the white people came, so-called white people. They came here and they gathered slaves from this land and took them down there. They all came here first: Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, the British, the English. Then the Japanese, when they came in, when they helped them to come empower the Chinese, they were Moab. So when Esau went there and conquered Moab and Ammon, he set up his dignitary, so-called bastard children, Chinese and Japanese, and then they ventured out from there, right? So then when they got power enough to come over here, they went down, and that was probably 1900s. They went down in those countries that had already been established by the Europeans. They went by the UN and NATO and the UN, when they already established their dominance on the earth. Then Chinese, when they came into wealth, they went into these lands and started buying property and setting up businesses. They came in later. They didn't have a military to come over here and do, they wouldn't have never won. None of these nations could whoop us, So they came over here and set up businesses and stuff. That's how they took over. Let's keep watching.
The fact that there were Native Americans who were still alive and practicing their culture when my grandmother's elders were coming up, there was still indigenous people in this country who were practicing their culture. There's a lot of resistance in that. For me.
Okay. So what he is saying is, when slavery was over, when Abraham Lincoln, so-called free, quotation marks, freed the slaves, he said there were still Indians saying, hey, we are Indians. Y'all see us sitting over here. We on our reservations. We got acres and acres of land. It might not be the good land, but really we got acres and acres of land. I think it was over 19 million acres of land they had. Now, where did they get that land from? Where did those black people get that land from? Because if they were all killed, because it was over 250,000 families, not people, families claiming rights to the land after slavery was over. Where did all of those slaves that had been in chains so long and been destroyed, where did they get that land from? Because black slaves were not allowed to own land. They didn't own anything. They had nothing. And so they went to the courts, to the union, and said, these white people are squatting on our land and taking our land, your people. They said, who are you? The courts asked them, who are you? Because they have been reclassified to be Negroes on paper, and in the secret council, uh, they had said, okay, we classify all these Indians to be Negroes, and we take all their rights to their land and everything, and we're gonna take and give it to the white people that we're gonna bring over here, the Europeans, the Edomites. Okay, so that's what happened to our land. That shows you at least 250,000 families were still here. Indian Northern Kingdom's family was here in slavery. Black people. They forced them to he gonna tell you the rest.
Personally, the fact that I know that I am of African and Indigenous American descent after hundreds of years of colonization shows that there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of pushback from both sides. Now, another reason why you see African Americans going so hard about claiming to be of Native American descent is because many of our elders had elders who petitioned to be listed on the Dawes Rolls. Back in the day when America was giving reparations to Indigenous Americans, they came up with this thing called the Dawes Rolls. And a lot of people were going and having their names listed on the Dawes Rolls that they were descendants of Indian Americans or American Indians. And there were a lot of white people who paid to have their names listed on the Dawes Rolls. And there were a lot of black people who were denied because they had African blood. And America did not want to give reparations to African Americans. And so with that being said, many of our elders had mixed race elders that were left off of the Dawes Rolls because of their African blood, even though they also legitimately...
Now, so did you hear that? Although they classified us, although they classified the indigenous people, the Northern Kingdom, to be Negroes on the Dawes Roll, okay, that was for a reason. That was to eliminate their claim of identity to all those lands, those reservations that they placed them on, while they had their plantations, while they had their freedmen, and they were the freedmen, and then they classified the people who was in chains and working for the master and took on his name, his last name. They called them slaves. So there were indigenous people who were slaves, and there were indigenous people who were freedmen because they never went into that kind of slaves where they had to work for the white man every day and be disciplined by him every day under his jurisdiction. They had their own jurisdiction. Okay? They kept their nation identity. So that's what he's saying. And he's saying that, okay, when they finally made way in court to where somebody would listen to them and they showed them the Dawes Roll where they had to be classified, they had to be classified as Negroes. They said, right here is where they reclassified. They stole our identity on this Dawes Roll. We were here, the same names that you have on the native. They took your name. They counted you on those reservations because they wanted to know when you left the reservation. They had your names, your family names on those reservations. The so-called Edomites had it, the white man, the Romans, Greco-Romans. They had your names of the people who were Indians, right? You were on that reservation. You had to write down. You had to come in and sign your X, so they could identify you. So when they went and said, hey, here's the names off the Indian roll, off the treaty, and here's the names on the Dawes Roll, that's the same people. They said they got us here. So what the Europeans, the Edomites started doing, they went and paid later on in the 18th and 1900s, early 19, they went and started paying the record keepers to put their name on the Dawes Rolls too, so they could say, see, here, we are natives too, our name's on the Dawes Roll too. $5 all it cost them. That was how that trick worked. Okay, let's keep watching.
had indigenous ancestry. And so you started to see it became a habit even back in the day when our grandparents were growing up for people to try to gaslight black people when they would claim to have Native American ancestry. And many of our elders took that serious because imagine you tell somebody that your family is Cherokee or your family is Choctaw and folks are telling you that you're not, but like your grandma is a whole Choctaw woman. It's almost like they were trying to force African Americans to erase the indigenous ancestry from our own family's oral histories. Like a lot of people don't know their family history because their elders are scared of being gaslit when they talk about it.
And I remember that. You remember that. You can remember that we were, not only did they make it illegal by just simply saying, no, you're not Indians, you're Negroes. Whenever you brought that up, the white man would gaslight you first. Whenever if they ever hear you say that, they would gaslight you. If they ever heard you say those white people, those Indians look white, they would run and tell you, no, they Indians, though, no, they Indians. A number of people have said they experienced the same thing from white people, especially in these museums and stuff. When you go in there and you standing around and you say, they look white. Some white person that don't even know you will run to you and say, no, they white, though, they white. It was white Indians. They come. They know to do that. That's cold. That's cold. They all know what this is and what happened. Why would they take a personal interest and emotional attachment to you to make sure you knew that white people were Indians and they don't even know you? They from a different state, but they'll run up to a black person and say, no, there were white Indians. Because that's a code. They're all on code. Why? Because their job is to do what the Satan, the devil, wanted them to do. Satan, and they are proven even today now to be on code with the scripture, what the Bible said. The Bible said the Satan comes to only but to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what he goes around the earth to do, steal, kill, and destroy. And now they are proud of that. Once they've been revealed, once you reveal them, they are proud to be disciples of the devil, the satanic being Satan. They are the people who do his bidding. Look in Romans. Know ye not that who you yield your members to, that's whose servant you are? They are taking on their servant's name and characteristics, so why not call them who they are? They are the devil. The white man is the devil. The people, the nations that help the white man secure his jurisdiction over the earth are of the devil. They are devils. Let's keep listening.
And so with that being said, yes, a lot of us are legitimately of Native American descent also. And many of us claim all of it. We claim our African blood and our Native blood because those are still our ancestors. Now, you will see a lot of African Americans arguing about African Americans are not African at all, that we are fully Native American. Now, I don't know what the fuck that's all about because I know that I have ancestry in Africa, but me personally, I also do not like to tell other black people what they are. If you
see, so he haven't done his full study because he's gonna say it. He's probably the only person that his age that mentioned anything about the Israelites because they don't want to bring the Bible in as a reputable source of history because they don't want to eventually say that the Bible is the Word of God and the mind of God, and we're going to be held accountable for ignoring it, right? Let's watch.
Say that your grandparents told you that you have no African blood, then who am I to tell you that you do? Even if we do look alike. And who am I to tell you that you do? If you say that your family history has no ancestry in Africa at all, that you are fully indigenous, then who am I to tell you that you are not? I know some black people who say that they are Hebrew Israelites. And it's just like, if that's what your grandmama told you, then I guess I can't tell you what you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, me personally, I know my family history, so I'll go by what my elders tell me. I don't go by anything else. And, so I assume everybody else is doing the same thing.
So right, so that's all anybody is going on. You got to go on history, and you go on what your parents said. Now it's the gaslighting has to stop because nobody's listening to the people who gaslight. Gaslighting only works when they can convince you to what you're saying is not right and what they're saying is right about you. That's the only gaslight is useless. Gaslighting is useless if you can't convince the people who you're trying to gaslight to your ideology of what you're saying is right and what they're saying is wrong.
You remember when white people falsely claimed Native American ancestry to get government benefits? Let's dive into one of history's most audacious identity heists. In the 1900s, the U.S. government started offering individual land allotments to Native Americans. This was meant to civilize them because nothing says civilized like taking people's land and handing it back to them piecemeal. But here's a twist. Many poor whites got wind of this and saw dollar signs. They started working with corrupt government officials to bribe their way onto the Dawes rolls, which were used to register Native Americans for just $5. $5 and poof, they're suddenly Native American on paper. Not only did this spark a black market for Native American identities, but Native American population numbers skyrocketed. Overnight, people became part of tribes they had no history with or no connection to. Meanwhile, real Native Americans watched as their identities, land, and heritage was swiped right from under them. And that is the history of the $5 Indian. You remember when white people falsely claimed Native American ancestry to get government?
These people get more and more ridiculous every day. There's all these like right-wing white people now, all these right-wing MAGAs who want to claim that they are Native Americans because they can trace their lineage back to Plymouth Rock. Who the knows what? You know what? Here's my thing. Like, you might want to say like, oh, I can trace my lineage back to Christopher Columbus. It doesn't matter. Because there are fossilized footprints in New Mexico that prove that actual natives to America, our people, brown people, have been on this continent for over 20,000 years. By comparison,
Okay, he has his number wrong, and a lot of that carbon and fossil dating is not accurate, right? We know it's not accurate because sometimes storms and earthquakes and water, rushing water, and all of this can appear to change. It can change the appearance of an object to make it look older, right? Right? You can't tell me how all that dirt got on these pyramids that's covered in dirt. They call them mounds until they start cleaning them off. These are pyramids in this land, so you can't tell me any catastrophic weather didn't happen. God covered those instruments, those pyramids, those structures up. He covered that stuff up. He hid it. He set the stage for everything. So you can't tell me 20 million years or 20,000 years when the Bible gives us the full time. It gives us the full, you know what I'm trying to say, the correct time frame that this stuff happened in, that this America's happened in. 2,000 years at the most. Okay?
white people just got here.
They just got
These people get more and more ridiculous every.
People say they're native. Why do some people say they're native or claim native heritage when they really don't have any? I think this is an excellent question. Now, while I don't have all of the answers, my best guess is that there's a possibility that somewhere years and years ago, one of your ancestors, one of your relatives, maybe knew Native people and were close with the tribes and maybe took on aspects of that culture that wound up getting passed down. It's also possible that you could have a very distant Native relative, and those oral traditions or just the knowledge of that Native ancestor was passed down, even if by now the blood is very, very diluted. And I'm not even talking about blood quanta. I mean, like, if your great, great, great grandfather was Native, the tie to that culture right now, even excluding blood, would be very little. But those people may still claim Native heritage. Why do some people say they're Native or claim Native heritage when they really don't have any?
So that's what happened with these so-called Native Americans who were claiming to be the indigenous people of the land. And because you listen, the only proof they have is what they say their ancestors passed them down. Pictures and, just little stuff that when they start forming the civilized tribes, Esau start taking his bastard children running around in the world, mulatto-looking children, and start claiming them first to be the 5 civilized tribes. They were living on reservations and on their own land, not being bothered. Esau didn't bother them. And then when he needed them to cosplay and parade around to say white people were Indians on this land first, when he needed them, then he used them. And then they said, well, they're going to ask this question. They said, well, just tell them that this is where your history starts. So start telling them stories from this point on down. We still can do it. You're still riding horses. You're still hunting. You're still hunters, gatherers. You're still living on your land. And we can claim that you're the only people who's left, and you're the only people who we'll have to pay reparations to. You're the only people going to take you up here and leave you up here, and you just, you be free in your own land. And you go along with white supremacy. You go along with the story. You're the evidence to a fake story. So that's all they are. And that's what she's telling you. She's telling you that people that saying they are natives now, all they did was live that lie from the Trail of Tears, till now, and they just keep regurgitating what they say their ancestors did for 2,000 years, when they are only maybe 100 years old. The white Indians are only maybe 100 years old.
I think this is an excellent question.
No, that's right. I remember them days when everybody used to say, well, I got me some Native American in me. I'm part Apache, or I'm part, what would everybody used to say, Cherokee. Oh, yeah, everybody got Cherokee. Now, oh, no, they don't fucking claim that shit. No, but I feel you, man. Yeah, every cracker I know, I got it. But, hey, I did my fucking what's that, 23andMe DNA? Motherfucker, I tell you, I got 9% Native American in my ass. Not literally in my ass, but somewhere, you know what I mean? And hell, I found out I got fucking 12% African. What the fuck? Who'd have thought that shit? From native Saharan Africa. 12.
So he's not lying. He's not lying, see? The thing about it is they came from us. So yeah, you're gonna have Jacob in you. You're gonna have a little Jacob in you. But he's cussing too much, so But he knows.
You are white.
Uh-huh.
What are you?
I'm literally Mexican.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Really? Because you are white.
Uh-huh.
What are you?
I'm literally Mexican.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Really? Because
So Mr. Leakey got into Africa and he found some bones. He said they were 750,000 years old. Now, the white fella is a new man. He's a new guy on our planet. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Where is he a native? Have you ever heard the white man say, I'm a Native American?
No, sir.
Is he a native from South America? From Central America? He's in Africa. Is he a native African? He been to China. Is he a native from China? He ain't native nowhere. You know what native mean? I'm natural to this part of the planet. So if he's not natural to any part of our planet, notice how I said that.
Second Ezra 6:54. You can start there. Read on down. The earth was created for our sake, the Israelites, right? Our planet.
Our planet. The Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and you are the Lord's. That this whole earth belongs to. And the enemy has had rule over our earth for a season. And his
Second Ezra 6:54. And after these things, Adam also, whom thou made Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen, the Israelites. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou hast made the world for our sake. Right? As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them, unto a drop that fall from a bucket. And he don't care about it. Nobody cares about one drop of water that you lose. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathens which have ever been reputed, their reputation has been nothing. You have reputed them, counted them as nothing. It have begun. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathens which have ever been reputed, recognized as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and devour us. Right? Let's read it all. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given unto their hands. If the world now be made for our sake, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? Now, how long shall this be? So that's what's happening now, right? They have taken our inheritance. Jeremiah 17:4. They taken our inheritance, and they never shared it with us. They only gave us enough to survive so we could be their slaves, right? They never shared their rulership with us, with the Israelites, and none of the nations that had us in captivity. So now they're called Gentiles. The Gentile time is up, and they're being brought. Their crowns are being taken from them and given to Christ. The power, their crowns, their rulership. The Gentile rulership is over. It's time for Christ to rule. And his delegates would be the nation of Israel. We're the delegates of the kingdom of heaven. Hello. Thank you. Wow. All right. All praises to the Most High.
50,000 years old. Now, the white fella is a new man. He's a new guy on our planet. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Where is he a native? Have you ever heard the white man say, I'm a Native American?
No, sir.
Are primarily white people who pretendians are everywhere. Pretendians are primarily white people who falsely claim an indigenous identity. Pretendians fraudulently take up the places, spaces, and voices of real indigenous people. They also make it harder for real indigenous people to reconnect with their communities, especially those who have been disconnected by colonial laws and policies. And that includes the Indian Act rules, where the federal government decides who's an Indian and who isn't. They appropriate our stories, our cultures, everything about us for their own purposes. Can you understand why indigenous peoples would be upset about pretendians doing all of this? Hi, my name is Dr. Pam Palmater. Follow me for more decolonization in action. Pretendians are everywhere. Pretendians.
And she's one of them. She's one of them just by looking at her. She's pretending to be white. And then she can pretend to be black too, right? They can pretend to be white when it benefits them, and they can pretend to be, they can put on their makeup and pretend to be indigenous when it helps them. They've done this all over the earth. The Edomites are in charge all over the earth. That's why Russia, Chinese, Japanese, the Orients, the Caribbeans, the white people that's running all these lands, they are Esau's bastard children, if not direct Edomites, Idumea. Okay? All praises to the Most High.